Welcome to your Aligned as Fuck Life podcast, hosted by your girl, Shalvika. I am a life transformation coach, a wife, a cat mom, pure generator, Enneagram 3, Pisces sign, and helping you build an aligned as fuck life is my jam. Out in this world, we believe that there are no set rules for building a life, career, and business. That we are all unique and we should be able to embrace our uniqueness in everything we do while shedding all the rules or bullshit rules one at a time. We will talk all things mindset, manifestation, healing, energetics, rituals, success, and so much more. I believe that I can have it all, and you can too. Ready for an episode that will take you one step closer to your aligned as fuck life? Let's get started. Hi, and welcome to episode 53 of your Aligned as Fuck Life with Shalvika. Today's episode is called Your Major Assignment as a Human Being. And I have been kind of thinking about this topic for a while. And one of the reasons why I decided to record this episode today is because I am in the middle of launching my 6-week program for women called Bloom. And one of the major things that we do in this is this idea of unbecoming. Right? We are all raised to be a certain type of a human being, and we have a blueprint. All of our minds have a blueprint. All of our minds have a map, which we use to navigate life, which we use to make decisions, which we use to gauge whether we see ourselves fit or worthy of whatever it is that we desire in our lives. This is also the guide. This map is also the guide that we use for the actions that we take, because it really drives our belief systems. Your map in your mind drives everything from how you look at yourself, how you look at the world around you, how you look at your relationships, how you look at money, how you look at success, how you look at your worthiness, how you look at your beliefs, how you look at whether or not you are going to get the things that you really want to get. All of these things are decided by this map, this blueprint that you have in your mind. And I don't want to get into where this map and how this map gets formed today. That's not what I want to talk about. But coming back to the idea of unbecoming is what we do as a part of this process is we decide and intentionally unbecome parts of ourselves that do not serve our higher selves. And because I've been kind of thinking about it, working through it, working with my clients, talking to my past clients around how this has helped them evolve, grow, whatever, I thought that I really wanted to record this episode, because one of the least talked about things in life is death. And I don't just mean the final death that all living beings eventually encounter, though that is also a big part of what I want to talk about today. But deaths in all forms and shapes and features and in all sizes. According to me, your major assignment as a human being is to accept death. Death is one of the greatest tragedies in life, but it is also one of the most important facts to embrace, because all things that live, all experiences that live, everything that's happening has to meet an end, has to die in some form of another. So as a human being, you will experience death. Again, like I said, in so many shapes and forms, right? You will experience death of people. You will experience death of loved ones, of things. You will experience death of pets, of friendships, of relationships. All of these things will keep happening, things will keep coming and going. You will experience death of jobs, you will experience death of hobbies, you will experience death of what you used to like at one point in time and you no longer do. But most important of all, and I think this is why I feel this is accepting death is our major assignment as a human being, is you will experience your own death. And by death, again, I don't mean the final death, the dying, where we our soul leaves the body and our body is no longer breathe. But again, that is something that we will experience. But when I say you will experience your own death, is you will experience the death of your past versions. You will experience death of old patterns. You will experience death of habits. You will experience death of the way you talk to yourself. You will experience death of the way you look at things, right? And sometimes it feels like a positive thing and sometimes it feels like a negative thing. And I'm going to give you an example. When you are intentionally participating in a death, say for example, you're someone who struggles with procrastination, but you are really pulling your socks up and deciding that nope, this fucking ends right now and I'm going to change this pattern for myself. That's a positive death. That's an intentional death that you are bringing about, the death of an older version of yourself that used to procrastinate. So the minute you bring this to your awareness and start becoming that version of yourself that does not procrastinate as much as you used to, even a little, right? Even if you do one thing differently today, you have experienced the death of a past version, right? And sometimes this death is not so positive. I speak to a lot of people and sometimes it's like, oh, but that phase of my life, like 2 years ago when I was doing really well, I was fucking working out every day and I was doing excellent in my job and I was so motivated and I was highly inspired to create and do new things in my life. I just don't feel that anymore. Now that is an experience of death that is not entirely positive, right? And a lot of times these entirely not positive death experiences are unintentional. They are not something that we intentionally choose. Today what I want to talk to you about is how to normalize this idea of death, because a lot of times when we know that this is what I want to change, for example, you want to change your pattern of procrastination, right? That's something that you really want to change in your life, but you feel this internal resistance to that change. There is this part of you that's really blocking you all the time from experiencing that death of your past version that does procrastinate all the time, right? And it's probably because there's something that you're getting out of it. So for me, a lot of times when I procrastinate, it's because I have lost myself in some books and I really don't want to let go of that experience of devouring one book after another, right? So that is why sometimes a lot of us kind of resist this death of a version of ourselves, even though we know we want it. At some level, I don't want to be procrastinating anymore. But there is this big block. There is some sort of a pleasure that you're getting from not experiencing the death of that past version of yourself. And I do want to talk about this. I do want to talk about this kinky pleasure that we get from our own negative patterns. But again, that's another episode for another day. But today, what I want to actually dive into is how, unless you let die certain parts of you, you're not going to be able to birth certain newer parts of you. And that is why death is so important. Life, death, life is a cycle, is a law of the universe. Everything, if we look at nature, if we look at trees, right, as seasons progress, you will notice so many things that change. I have a plant, it's called a blood lily plant, and it has these beautiful big, like huge, okay, the flowers are probably the size of my entire hand, huge red, beautiful flowers that come on that plant, but they come only in the month of May, right? And those flowers bloom only at the peak of summer, at the height of the heat. Those flowers bloom, and then what happens is those flowers kind of die within a month. The flowers go away, but these huge leaves, huge green long leaves, kind of stay on that plant for months. Like, I think, if I remember correctly, 4 5 months, 6 months, they stay on that plant. And then come winter, these plants also start, these leaves, sorry, also start to die one by one. The leaves also wither away until there is nothing. Like, right now it's April, and as I'm recording this, there's literally nothing in that pot. All I can see is the tubers of that plant, but I know that it's going to grow. And when it grows, I know it's going to be so fucking beautiful to look at, because those huge red flowers are, oh my God, one of my favorite things that bloom in my terrace garden, right? This is the law of nature. Nature follows the cycle of life, death, life. That is why snakes shed their skins and they redevelop and regrow a new skin. Humans, is it 7 years or is it 11 years? I kind of forget. But every 7 years, I think, all the cells in our body kind of die and are replaced by new cells, little by little. Of course, it happens over a course of 7 years. But what that really means is you are not the person right now that you were even 7 years ago. Even if you are the same human being, you're not the same person. Women, every month, we go through the life-death-life cycle. Our menstrual cycle is a life-death-life cycle. Every time you're ovulating, there is an egg. There is this possibility of a life that comes into picture. And if that doesn't get fertilized and, you don't get pregnant, there is a death that happens in the form of your period. Your uterus sheds all the blood that's lining your uterus. And that's a form of death. That's a form of ending of the life cycle for that egg that was in your uterus, right? So life, death, life is such an important part of being alive. And we feel so much attachment to what we have right now. We feel so much attachment to the versions of ourselves that we are right now, even though we are still constantly going through the life, death, life cycle, right? So your assignment, I feel, one of your major assignments as a human being is to birth whatever is needed, whatever needs birthing, right? And in order for that to happen, you need to let die everything that needs to die, whether people around you are ready for it or not. Again, I'm going to repeat that. In order for you to birth something in this life, that may be a higher version of you, that may be a creative project that you want to birth, it may be this new job opportunity that you want to look into, it may be a new hobby that you want to start. In order for that to start, you need to let go of something. It has to replace something in your life, because all of us have a limited amount of time on this planet. We have a limited amount of time in a day, and you cannot keep adding new things. So if you have desires of becoming someone who you are not right now, you need to be ready to let die parts of you that no longer serve you right now. So a few questions that I want you to mull over as you're listening to this is, what parts of myself am I so attached to in this moment that even though I know they need to die, I'm not letting go? How would the death of those parts of me make me feel? How would the deaths of those parts of me benefit me? How would those parts of me dying support my future self, support my higher self, support the desires that I have for myself in this life, right? So here are a few things that I have made a list of that I feel most of us need to let die, right? Let die these tendencies to hold on because it's comfortable, right? Because there is this illusion that because it's comfortable, I am in control. But the fact is, we are never in control. So let die your tendencies to deny yourself what you want. The urge to fit in, to be acceptable, the need to always conform. Because the minute you let that die, you will be able to get in touch with your true essence, with your authenticity completely. Let die this idea that you have to play small and shrink. Because the moment you let that die, you give permission to that which needs birthing, which is your power, which is your authenticity, which is your medicine to this world. Let die wanting to always please others so you can birth things that actually please you. What if the point of your living was not to please everyone around you, but to bring so much unbridled pleasure to your own self? Let die the fear that you will be alone if they don't get it, so that you birth the opportunity to actually meet and love the people who do get it. And that happens, honestly, in my experience, that always happens when you let certain relationships die, when you are ready to let go of people who don't support you in who you are, people who are not your cheerleaders all the fucking time. You create space to invite people in. You create space to invite people who absolutely love who you are and what you stand for. So let die that fear that you will be alone, right? Let die this idea that you have to constantly chase this elusive goal that's suddenly going to make you happy, right? Because if you are constantly chasing something that you feel is going to make you happy, the minute you reach there, I can guarantee you that you're just gonna think about the next thing that's gonna make you happy, and the cycle is just never ending. Let die this constant cycle of self-sabotage, guilt, and inaction, so that you can do what you need to do because you know what you need to do. You just aren't able to get yourself to do it because there is so much sabotage and guilt and shame that's holding you back, right? Let die of this idea that I need to do these X number of things in order for me to feel worthy, in order for me to feel lovable. Because that's not true. You are worthy just because you are. You are lovable just because you are. All of us are, right? Let die this tendency of being a chronic people pleaser. So much so that you feel drained all the time and you feel angry at everyone around you. Let that die, right? Let die this tendency of not trusting yourself. When you were born, when all of us were born, we were born with the sense of immense amount of self-trust. We knew what we wanted and we weren't afraid to do it. We weren't afraid to go and get it, right? You were so quick to say no to people. You were so quick to point at things and demand that that's what you want. And then over the years, you kind of started melding yourself so that you could be more palatable for this world, and that kind of led you to not trusting yourself. So let that die. You are your biggest source of guidance. Your intuition is your biggest source of guidance. Make that your friend, right? Let die this feeling that you're disconnected with yourself. Let die this feeling that you're disconnected with your body. Get to know your body. Get to know yourself. Maybe start practicing a form of physical movement like yoga or dance, right? These are just some of the examples that I have jotted down, but I feel that if you were to sit down and ask yourself, what is it that I need to let die today in order to become my next best version, in order to birth my higher version, I'm sure you'll come up with a long ass list of things, right? And the first step to start on this journey is to accept. It's to accept death, because that is your major assignment of being a human being, accepting death. And of course, now coming back to the big D, capital death, right? Which all of us are headed towards. Everything that lives so that it can die. So the minute you were born, you started dying. And I know that sounds really morose when I say it that way, but it's true. It's true, even though we don't want to accept it as that harsh truth. That is the truth, right? So we are all going to die, no matter whether you're 15 years old today, 25, 35, 85. All of us are headed to the same destination. What I want you to do is, I want you to kind of sit and ask yourself this question, that if I know for a fact that I am going to die, what is holding me back? I feel that acceptance that yes, things die, but the fact that I am also going to die someday brings things so much into perspective, because we know that the time that we have here is finite. Everything that you have been putting off for a time in future, you don't know if that time in future is guaranteed for you. Everything that you have been leaving off for someday, right? Someday when I'm fitter, I will wear that dress. Someday when I have more money, I will go traveling with my sister. Someday, whatever, fill in the blanks, add your story. All of us have been doing that to ourselves. But the thing is, we are all headed towards the big capital D, death, right? What does that bring up for you? That acceptance that this is going to happen to me, what does that bring up for you? Make a list of those things and start living today. Because if you don't, and I think I read it somewhere that most people on their deathbed don't really talk about all the things that they've achieved and the money that they've made. They talk about all the things that they missed out on, all the things that they wish they had done, right? They wish they had spent more time with the family. They wish they had gone on more traveling dates. They wish they had done whatever, la-di-da-da-da. Right? So the first step is acceptance that this is a part of life. Death is a part of life. What am I going to do about it? This is your major fucking assignment on this planet as a human being. And I hope that after listening to this episode, you start thinking in that direction. You start contemplating on this idea that unless I'm ready to let die parts of who I am today, I cannot birth a newer version of me. I cannot birth what it is that I want to birth. So what is it that I'm ready to let die? All right, I'm going to leave you with that question. And I really, really hope that this has made you think. And I would love to have a conversation around this. So hop onto Instagram, get in touch with me. I am available at Shalvika P on Instagram. And I would love to have a conversation around this and see what you think. All right, that's all that I have for today. Ciao. Thank you so much for tuning in today's episode. If you absolutely loved what you heard today, be sure to share it with me by leaving a review on iTunes so that I can keep the good stuff coming. And if you aren't already following me on social media, come soak up some extra inspiration and send me a hello on Instagram by searching at Shalvika P. Also tagged in the show notes. I love and adore you so much, and I will talk to you super soon. In the meantime, continue building your most authentic and aligned as fuck life. Ciao!